Hi, and welcome to New God Sunday School. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design. Today we're talking about New Gods number 2. We'll see if Jack Kirby is able to overcome the sophomore slump that often occurs with issue 2 of comics. This one, the title, Orion of the New Gods. A couple notable things. We have a collage cover. So much copy on this cover that it's almost easy to lose the fact that this is a collage. And, the original is a lot more impressive when you sort of take away the pasted on letterhead. And also notice the logo in comics almost universally goes right up top. This one's somewhere a little bit above the middle. So that's interesting. And then the title. Jack Kirby's initial title that he wanted for the series was Orion. And he wanted the larger meta series to be called The New Gods. So it would be Orion of the New Gods, Forever People of the New Gods, Mr. Miracle of the New Gods. So he sort of gets his wish with issue 2. It's Orion of the New Gods. DC still sees Jack Kirby as a huge selling point on these comics, a real rarity at the time. And so he's got his signature on the cover, which was not a given back then. Orion corner circle, differentiating it from the corner boxes that Kirby had at Marvel. His Fourth World books have corner circles. The sinister warlords of Apocalypse strike at Earth. Orion of the New Gods. Read, O deadly dark side. From the blueprint of the weird, see the dreaded fear machine. So lots going on, lots of cool looking characters here. You have ones you can sort of recognize if you're familiar with Super Friends cartoons and the Superman cartoons. You have Darkseid Desaad, and then this guy is a little more mysterious. I think he's referred to as Barola, a done-and-one character. You never see him again in the series. Orion's getting sort of knocked backward by this sort of snaking energy coming from these three. Let's see what's inside. So we're reestablishing the cosmic scale that we established in issue 1. We see sunlit New Genesis with the Supertown orbiting city, and then in the foreground, casting a large shadow, is Apocalypse with winged parademons flying over one of the festering fire pits. It came to pass that the Holocaust which destroyed the old gods split their ancient world asunder and created in its place 2 separate and distinct homes for the new forces to rise and grow and achieve powers to move the universe in new ways. Now there is Apocalypse, forever orbiting in shadow, its surface marked by mammoth fire pits, which illuminate its stark and functional temples, in which creatures of fury worship a creed of destruction. And moving with majestic serenity in eternal partnership with this seething giant is its sunlit sister world New Genesis. Lots of big rhetoric and mythological speechifying, just like issue 1. I like it. Here's another glorious Jack Kirby double-page spread. We get in the background the floating city of Supertown. And then it's got some kind of mechanism, some kind of playground ride for the kids that stretches all the way down from the city, almost touching the surface, and some other gods are there to join them. I don't know that anything else was done with any of these characters. That might be Isak up there, who shows up from time to time in the New Gods. When Jack Kirby created this universe, he felt that any one of the characters had the potential to carry their own series. And I would say he was right about that. Light Ray making another appearance, this time sporting a little domino mask that comes and goes from panel to panel. And so in the foreground, we get a nice look at High Father. We get some cool-looking background characters. I like this guy up in the background. And when I was working on Superpowers, I, sort of, again, that idea that you could take background characters from Kirby's work and make comics that revolve around them. I sort of focused on that guy and thought that he could be I forget the name I gave him, Flatermouse or something. But the idea was that I thought, okay, he could be sort of like the Batman of the new gods. The source is writing a destiny, as it did in issue one. As the seeds of the old gods still live, so do the seeds of that ancient Holocaust. And now they have flowered and borne sinister fruit. Behold, Highfather is linked with the source. See, the hand appears and reveals the word. Again, it writes in letters of flame, war, war, the decisive conflict between New Genesis and Apocalypse. True, Light Ray, our champion Orion is already in the battle. Now others must follow. I am one among those assembled, Highfather. I am eager to join Orion. You are the youngest of those assembled, Light Ray. Your time to clash with monsters is not yet here. Conflict is a sorrowful state. Those who follow Orion will learn from him to endure its terrors and loneliness. He alone has been fighting his monsters from birth. But this is the ultimate battle, Highfather. Darkseid, ruler of Apocalypse, has loosed his minions on Earth among men. Orion is there. He is my friend. Let me join him. No, Light Ray, the time is not yet. It is my command. Look at all this beautiful stuff in the background. I just, anytime we're on New Genesis, I just eat it up and I soak up every bit of it. We didn't get enough. We didn't get enough New Genesis. Look at all these guys here. The gods have their own gods and their own mythology. And now we get a face-to-face confrontation between Orion and Darkseid. A little taste of things to come. Hold, friends. Do not enter this room. It is accursed.
Welcome to Earth, Orion. It is known to me that you raided Apocalypse before arriving here.
Now read O Deadly Darkseid. And there he is, looking super badass. We got a confrontation coming. That can only be Darkseid, number one of my top 10 nightmares. I rescued you from Apocalypse, my friends, and he's number one there too. Then yes, you broke the peace, Darkseid. You took Earthlings from their world.
I dare anything. I am Darkseid.
That was one of the first lines that Skeletor speaks in the Masters of the Universe movie, played by Frank Langella. Looking and acting very Darkseid-ish in that. I mean, I'm not the first person to point this out, but that the Masters of the Universe movie is closer to being a New Gods Fourth World movie than it is to being a He-Man and the Masters of the Universe movie, and I'm all for it. King of the Damned, I can finish you now.
Finish me, and you finish yourself. You hesitate, Orion. You can sense why, but you don't know, do you? But Darkseid is free of mysteries. He can act.
Your fighting arm strikes, Master.
Loyal Brola has been at the ready. He is the power of the shock prod and the hand of stone.
I wanted to do more with Brola in Superpowers also, kind of build him up because he kind of, he's pretty cool. He just gets his little moment here, gives Orion a run for his money. I mean, Orion is, a pretty formidable guy. I mean, Brola is bashing Orion with his hammer hand. He's got a hand that's kind of melded into like a Thor hammer. Darkseid, Master, I call on you to save one of your own. And pretty soon everybody's gone. Darkseid knew things weren't going his way. Darkseid moves as no one on Earth does. His machines are legion and infinitely precise. It is evident that Brola never completed his fall, that Darkseid snatched him by teleray. Creatures like Brola are useful to Darkseid. There may yet be prey more vulnerable than myself. As for the archenemy of all life, you have seen him. That empty chair still reeks of his presence. I like that, that Darkseid, like his evil sort of permeates everything. And even when he leaves, there's still, a stench of sulfur, maybe, some kind of, residual evil. So Orion takes off his helmet. And, one of the things with this issue, I love this issue. I treasure every issue of the New Gods. This one, though, not quite as impactful as the first one, and not quite as impactful as some of the better issues that come later. And I think part of that is that it sort of has the climax up front, kind of like Empire Strikes Back. It sort of starts out with, the big clash between hero and villain, between Orion and Darkseid, and then nothing else that happens in the issue can really live up to that. But Kirby's in the driver's seat. I trust him, and this issue is a classic. The teleray activates. Darkseid and Brola appear. Hail Darkseid! Hail ruler of Apocalypse! The Master has met Orion and brings news of a victory.
Look at whipped Brola and think again. No, there was no victory.
There is madness in Orion, Master. He fights with the fury of one born of Apocalypse.
Enough, dog. Find your kennel and nurse your well-deserved wounds.
I go, Master, I go.
The battle is far from over. There is still the fear machine. How does it stand, Desaad?
It waits only for your judgment, Master. I hasten to begin its initial test. Indeed he does. Cruel Desaad hungers like some parasite. Issue 2 of Forever People hit the stands before this one, but I feel like Jack wants you to read this issue before the other one. And I feel like he may have possibly even drawn and written this one before Forever People number 2. And the reason why is we introduced Desaad, and he's got this very cool looking outfit, this very cool looking mask, and we get to see what he does. He's just as evil can be, and Darkseid tells him to test his new weapon, this fear machine, on Darkseid's own henchmen. Again, like, I grew up with the Masters of the Universe, and that guy sure looks an awful lot like Zodak. Word on the street is that Mattel wanted to do a Jack Kirby New Gods Fourth World line of toys, and that got scrapped, but they used some of the bits and pieces to make Masters of the Universe. But anyway...
Time is short. There are your subjects.
No, Master. We are in your service. Do not feed us to Desaad's vile instruments. So we see it turns these Apocalypse tough guys into screaming for their life, clawing at the walls. Save us, save us. Cool ad. Get your gear here. We have an essay, To and From the Source, by Mark Evanier and Steve Sherman. Rest in peace, Steve Sherman. The most recent issue of the Jack Kirby Collector is dedicated to Steve. He was Jack's assistant at this time, along with Mark Evanier, and went on to have his own career after this as in Hollywood as an artist and puppeteer. Worked on some of the animatronics in Men in Black. And you might remember the Captain O.G. Reedmore puppet. He created and operated that. But anyway, this is why I think this issue is supposed to be read before Forever People 2, because it's just a great reveal. Desaad has this cool-looking mask, which you never see again. He demonstrates his sadism and his evil genius, and then he removes the mask, and you see, his kind of Crypt Keeper face. So I mean that feels to me like that's supposed to be the introduction of this character. So that's why I'm doing this episode before Forever People number 2.
Emotional turmoil breaks the dikes of the mind and releases the flood in which we must fish, Desaad. Perhaps in this very city is the mind which will yield the anti-life equation, the ability to control all free will.
Yes, this time we must strike among larger numbers, ever larger. I have a field model placed in a strategic point of the city. It waits for your approval, great Darkseid.
Strike then, Desaad. Strike fear among those massed minds.
So we saw what the fear machine does, in a small scale. Now he's going to do it in a much larger scale in the city. Now Orion is showing everybody his mother box, which this is the first time it's named as such in this series. We saw Mother Box in Forever People number 1. We saw a Mother Box-like machine in Mr. Miracle number 1, but was not called out as such. And now we see a Mother Box being called out as a Mother Box in New Gods. What is this thing, Orion? It's some kind of box. Why must we touch it? It feels strangely warm and makes a sort of electronic sound, like a computer. The young of New Genesis call it a mother box. It does what is beneficial to its user. In this case, what? Mother box will help you to see through my eyes, to see the images my words evoke. A movie without film. That's wild. Roll, man, roll. Motherbox, it's the first smartphone and much, much more. So Orion is showing and telling them through the Motherbox about this larger war, and that the forces of evil are amassing on Earth, and they're arriving via boom tube. The boom tube, the dimensional bridge from which Darkseid subjects pour. Hurry, you have your appointed tasks. Now they roam Earth to fulfill Darkseid's objective. Some are servitors, others are beings of frightful power. We never got to see this guy show up in an issue, so if DC ever lets me do a New Gods comic or return to superpowers, this guy's showing up. They are there in every element. Witness the new arrivals to Earth's waters, those known on Apocalypse as the Deep Six. See, I love the way Kirby is planting seeds in this series. It really does feel like he has a game plan that he's going by. It feels you feel like you're in good hands with this, and if he's faking it, if he's just making up as he goes, he's doing a brilliant job of faking it. I mean, you can either have a great plan going in, or if you're good enough at faking it that the audience is none the wiser, then yeah, good for you. But these guys show up. And then this guy shows up in Forever People #2. Another reason I wanted to read this one first, because this is kind of like a little trailer for what's going to show up in Forever People #2. So if you read Forever People #2 first, it's kind of, this becomes superfluous. I shall take my share of booty here. Let mankind serve the victor. So Mantis, one of the great villains in this cast of characters, shows up a number of times. These monsters prowl and seek in Darkseid's cause, not only in the known domains, but in stranger places like the Wild Area, where a bizarre dropout society may hold the secret which Darkseid yearns to possess. See Jimmy Olsen number 133, 134, and 137. This is a reference to, what has been going on in Jack Kirby's Jimmy Olsen comics that precede these New Gods comics. You get your first taste of the crazy stuff Jack Kirby's bringing to the DC universe. So this is just sort of referring back to that stuff. It's a nice splash. He sees all the terror that's going on in the city streets, and he realizes Darkseid's at the root of it, and he sees that these his little quartet, his Fantastic Four, they're freaking out too. So the beam penetrates these walls. You have become its victims. Stay back. We're afraid. I am trained to resist all degrees of fear. I shall carry the fight. When I don this equipment, Orion is sole possessor of the dreaded Astro Force. I am ready for battle, Mother Box. Now find that invisible beam. Ping, ping, ping. May the Astro Force be with you, Orion. Like an avenging angel, Orion swoops towards his mission. The city is loud with the sounds of hysteria. I must be swift. Help! Save me! Look out! The drivers of vehicles are mad with fear. I must halt the spread of casualties. Quickly, Mother Box. Lives are at stake. Lock onto that beam. She's tracked it. Now to follow the beam to its source. And here, great comic booky image. So that's it. A fear generator disguised as a great billboard. Clever, Desaad. The Astro Force shall cleanse this foul spot. So yeah, he's made this billboard with a giant eye in it, and it's hiding the mechanism of the fear generator. And that giant eye image, I mean, I know it's from somewhere. In F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby, there's this, giant billboard for like an eyeglasses company or an eye doctor or something that sort of faded with time, and so it serves as these sort of like the eyes of God, this kind of scary set of eyes that's just sort of floating there in the city. So I don't know if he's referencing that. I know he's referenced Fitzgerald and The Great Gatsby before. But the sign is protected. Light bulbs erupt in a deadly fusillade of Cosmoforce. I'm hit, forced back. Orion fires even as he falls. I've done it. The beam is destroyed. So he gets zapped, but he zaps the thing at the same time. But the speed of the descent could mean the end of Orion. A firing of the Astro Force will slow my fall. That's much better. I'm achieving proper flight position. Luckily, the street below was empty of passers-by. So the battle is renewed. The enemy will use new weapons, but I shall find them and destroy them as well. At that moment, Orion thwarts us again. He might have tracked us here were it not for my protective shields.
Forget Orion. It is your fear machine that yields nothing, not the slightest trace of the thought waves we seek.
So again, we're getting like more of an explanation of Darkseid's mission on Earth. He's agitating the minds of humans and then studying the brain waves that result from that agitation and trying to find traces of the anti-life equation, which is hidden in the minds of men. Orion has made a mockery of this test. When we capture him, give him to me.
You're a fool, Desaad, blinded by your own mania. We could never take one such as Orion captive. His kind dies in battle, and in death would look greater than a vermin like you.
This is Darkseid's best friend, by the way. So the great Darkseid rises quickly to the defense of an enemy.
Orion is an enemy to be respected.
Yes, it is strange how very like us he is, in his fierceness and...
Silence, Desaad. Was Orion my own son, he would mean nothing to the purpose of our mission. And in that mission we must not fail.
Hints of revelations to come. Orion's crew, they're recovering, telling Orion that, they were shaken and rattled by this whole thing, but they're ready to join him and join in the fight. We shall work together then. Somehow we shall find a means to rally wherever Darkseid shows his hand. And I shall strike with these. Though I be of peaceful New Genesis, I shall strike with more ferocity than can be mustered in all apocalypse. And in the end, O Earth, which of the two shall win in your domain? Addressing this question to the reader, because this comic is more urgent than just normal comic book stuff. Kirby's trying to tell us something about our own world and the urgency of situations we have to deal with. Next issue, the Black Racer is coming. Who is he after? You or ? Directing things towards the reader. And there you have it. A pretty strong issue. Not quite as strong as issue 1. Not as strong as some issues to come, but strong. Lots of delicious little morsels and tidbits. The big battle's in the beginning, and then Orion's tete-a-tete with the evil billboard is not quite as satisfying as him clashing with some apocalypse heavyweight. But it's Kirby's in the driver's seat, and I trust him, and this is a yarn, and we're watching it unspool, and it only gets better from here. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics and Fantastic Four Grand Design, and I'll see you next week for New Gods Sunday School.